On the next episode of Rick and Morty, the anime.
明かりを消せ、様。
こちらは銀河公軍。これより最重要指令手配犯3名の発砲を行います。危険を伴いますので、半径10マイル以内の住民は急いで退避してください。
すぐに戦闘態勢に入れ。
An all-new Rick and Morty, the anime. Japanese language premieres next Saturday at midnight on Toonami and streaming on Max. On the next all-new episode of Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Swordsmith Village.
There are 5 wooden dragon heads. They can expand to about 66 feet. All right, I've got one thing figured out. Hirokami Kagura, clear blue!
Demon Slayer, Kimetsu no Yaiba, Swordsmith Village. Next Saturday at 1:15 a.m. Only Toonami on Adult Swim.
Hello everyone, and welcome to our podcast, Toonami Therapy. Today on September 24th of 2024, I'm Michael.
Yeah, hello, I'm Tommy.
And, well, we're here to, as the podcast title indicates, talk about anime, and sometimes Toonami. Yep. Okay. Oh, by the way, I think last week I might have said something about how Uzumaki was premiering this week. Well, last week. Last week on the podcast, I might have said that it was coming the week after. Or maybe I didn't. I can't remember. Well, that was wrong if I said it. If I did not say it, then, yep. Well, I guess I just wasted maybe the last 15 seconds or so. Okay. All right, so I guess we can move into it. So we begin as usual with the stuff that aired on regular Toonami. Let's see. We got Rick and Morty, the anime, episode 6. A bunch of stuff happened and I didn't really understand it. Anything to add?
Nope, not really.
All right. Okay, then. We're moving on to Demon Slayer, episode 51. Oh, by the way, for the listener, sorry if you hear me cough or whatever. I'm kind of still experiencing some sort of residual things from when I got COVID last week. So, yeah. Okay. So, in this one, in this episode, if I'm remembering it correctly, right. Well, they're still fighting like they've been for how long now? It feels like this whole... We had like some stuff at the start, and then it's just been, we're fighting this demon like for episode after episode. And yeah, so anyway, in this episode, from what I remember, they're still fighting. Yeah, that's what you get. Sorry. It's just a bunch of fighting. That's the problem. I have kind of trouble describing what happened. It's like describing the plot of a JoJo episode. Like, what am I supposed to do? I can say, well, when this character did this, and then another character counteracted that with this thing, and another character counteracted with that, and it went on until it was finished, which you always know will happen because the same music always starts playing just before like the heroes land the final blow. I'm talking about JoJo actually with that, but
Yeah, Demon Slayer hasn't been all that interesting since maybe the first few episodes of this season.
yeah, it's just jumped into this big fight against this demon that I don't really care that much about, featuring a bunch of characters who, other than Tanjiro and Nezuko, I don't really care that much about. So, yeah, it really did kind of feel like we were just, we just went in and had a lot of fighting, and there's not really that much I can say about it, which might be good because when if I talk a bunch, I kind of might start coughing. So there seems so little to actually discuss on the stuff that airs on regular Toonami. We got Rick and Morty anime, which doesn't make sense. We got Demon Slayer, which has just been a bunch of fighting, and then we got One Piece, where we watch 2 episodes and we get 2/3 of an episode. All right, but let's try to get through this. All right, so in this episode, Sabo, the guy who got the flame fruit, goes and defeats a bunch of the Marines. Then he fights against the head Marine guy here. And Sabo talks about, yes, I, Luffy, and Ace were brothers, which is why it was never mentioned until like halfway through the series. It's just so weird. I mean, like I said, was mentioned before this arc, but it was really far into the series where it was suddenly said, oh yeah, this guy was super important to Luffy and Ace. It's I always made this joke. Remember that okay, I'll finish with the things with this. Basically, after that, we also have, Luffy and the others are still trying to get to Doflamingo. They, want to still get the handcuffs off Law. And then ultimately, Luffy and Law managed to make it to Doflamingo. Or maybe it's not the real Doflamingo. Maybe it's like a dummy or something. But yeah, it's probably not the real one. We've got how many episodes left in this arc? We've got about 58.
Oh, wow. Only that many? This is short arc.
We're 60 episodes into this. We are more than halfway through this arc now. Anyway, the comment I wanted to make was, remember, what was his name? I can't remember. I think it started with a 2 or something. The guy in that one Bleach arc, the one after they beat Aizen, who has like the power where if he slashes something, he's able to insert it into its past or whatever. So his Ichigo's friends with it. So Ichigo's friends are like, yeah, don't you remember him? He was super important and helped us in Soul Society and helped us defeat Aizen. That honestly was like a power that could be used for so many jokes when you think about it. It's like literally I make myself a Mary Sue.
Yeah.
Okay, then One Piece. The stuff I said. I'm sorry I have so little to say about the stuff that airs on actual Toonami. It just doesn't have the greatest lineup right now.
Mm-hmm.
Anything you want to add?
No, I don't really have anything to add.
All right. Let's move on to the non-Toonami series we've got. All right. Yep, Spice and Wolf, Merchant Meets the Wise Wolf, episodes 17 and 18.
Okay, well, I wish I had a lot more to talk about, but these 2 episodes seem to be like watching an economics class. And pretty much the entirety of the 2 episodes was just talking economics. And I guess we learned a little bit about supply and demand, not like we learned anything earth-shattering or anything. Holo isn't around, so yeah, it's not the same show when it's just Spice and not Spice and Wolf. So, and we have learned that we will get a season 2 of this, which is good in some ways, but also bad because that means that like now I can't just watch this to the end of the season and be like, okay, that's it. Now you got to watch the entire other season to know how this thing ends up. So, not a fan of that, and not a fan of these episodes either. I think they were rather disappointing. Sorry about that.
No, you captured my thoughts pretty well on it also. It's just, it's just, like what you say, economics talk. I saw someone refer to the show jokingly as capitalist and furry. So, and I was just thinking, okay, but when you take the second part, you just end up with a bunch of like economic capitalism talk, and it's not really enough to sustain these episodes.
No.
It's definitely hurt by not having Holo around, because in previous episodes, sometimes you got all the economics talk, but at least she was around and they had some fun interactions. They did it. Here it's just, no, we don't even get that. It's just economics talk.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I was also going to comment on the second season. That's definitely useful, because the original series, and technically I think this Spice and Wolf Merchant meets the Wise Wolf. And for people who don't know, I mentioned it before, but a while ago. But again, this is like a reboot. They're retelling the same story as the original series. It's not a continuation. But apparently, this season actually does go through things a little faster. So it apparently actually goes a little past the end point of the original anime. And of course, now that we've got the second season announced, that we'll be saying, oh yeah, you'll be getting more of it. So it'll go farther into the light novels. Now, I don't know exactly how far we are into it, but it does mean that if you were a fan, yes, you are going to get more than you had in the original series.
Yeah.
But apart from that, yeah, this was what I already said. I think I saw some people say that in the original series they didn't really like this arc that much either.
Mm.
Okay, yep, that's it. So let's go Full Metal Panic Invisible Victory episode 7.
Wow, there's so many of these that I'm doing the recaps of now. So basically we got mecha fighting with Sosuke. You thought it was going to be so much more difficult for Sosuke now that they're actually playing for blood. Well, nope, it's too easy for him. As usual, he defeats the opponent. But we basically get Nami turned into another form of Kaname, where she's just pretty much Kaname, and she acts exactly like Kaname. It's a different person, but it's the same character, and it makes me really, really angry. And yeah, so basically Sosuke defeats the guy, and now he has to figure out his way out of this hostage situation where they've got Nami held hostage, and obviously he's doing this for Kaname, but when you got Nami filling the Kaname role in the show, what do we really need Kaname for anymore? So, and Nami might be one of the Whispered, so she's Kaname in more ways than one. And it was a pretty entertaining episode, I will say. I just wish that we had the star of the show in the show instead of a replacement, which feels like Konami went on strike and we got a scab named Nami to take her place. But Still a pretty fun episode.
Well, Full Metal Panic is definitely handled having its female lead not be around better than Spice and Wolf did. It's definitely more entertaining. Yeah, you kind of covered it. Let's see, was there anything I wanted to say about it? No, it was a kind of straightforward episode. So, I feel like I want to say something more. Oh yeah, we do get to reveal that the. Now I have a question because you know the show better than me. The blonde photographer guy who reveals, "Aha! I wasn't really a photographer. I was just here to do this stuff." Have we seen him before? I mean, I know we saw him like when he showed up at the start of this sort of arc, but have we seen him before that?
Not to my knowledge, but they could still pull a fast one on me, but I don't remember ever seeing this guy before.
Okay. All right. All right, so then we've got Yu Yu Hakusho episode 9. All right. So in this episode, Yusuke gets a new mission. He's supposed to go this older psychic warrior person. I can't remember what she was, but I think she was like some sort of psychic or whatever. Is holding this tournament to decide who she'll pass all her knowledge and fighting skills to, and and Botan tells Yusuke, so by the way, it would be really bad if a bad guy learns those skills. So you need to go there and win it yourself. And if you do, and then Yusuke's not interested, but then she says it, well, if you do, I'll give you tickets for this thing. And Yusuke's like, I mean. So Kuwabara is kind of randomly ends up going to it by accident also. So then they go there. Let's see. The first round is just everyone gets pulls lots, but it's not actually random because if you have enough spirit power, it'll turn red. It'll turn red, and you'll go on. Then they play in this arcade thing that measures your powers. Also, finally, you have to go through this forest to get to the ending time, and yeah, well. What do you know? Our main characters managed to go through it again, and I spent a lot of this episode thinking, "Wow, was this the inspiration? Was this what did the author of this like this stuff so much he decided I'm going to make the first arc of a new series be just like this because it totally reminded me of the Hunter exam."
It was exactly the same as the Hunter exam arc. Exactly the same.
Yeah, and I thought it was pretty enjoyable. It reminded me of the Hunter exam in a good way.
Yeah, I do think it was very entertaining and enjoyable. I also think it was very predictable. Like every single thing that happened in this episode, I knew was going to happen a few minutes before. So, yeah, it was extremely predictable, but I guess it was entertaining, and yeah, and of course, I'm not sure if it's fair to compare it to Hunter x Hunter just because Hunter x Hunter came later, but that's exactly what I'm thinking the whole time I'm watching the episode. I'm like, okay, so this is the way it went down in the Hunter exam arc. So it's going to end up similar to this. And sure enough, now we get the arc that's about people fighting each other. So, yeah, not bad in an episode, but this is like total shonen predictability. So not too difficult to know what's going to happen as we go along.
Yeah, it is one of those problems where when did Yu Yu Hakusho the manga originally run again? Let me check. Oh yeah, the manga ran from 1990 to 1994. So it is one of those things where obviously, and it was pretty popular and influential, like not on the level of Dragon Ball, but still pretty high up there. So it was definitely one of those things where, yeah, unfortunately, that also means that everything copied the ideas and now it feels more old hat.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Yep, all right. Then we move on to Oshinoko episode 13.
Okay, so the girl who's the creator of this thing basically wants to uh, start over and make an entirely new script and fired a scriptwriter, and there's a big controversy between them. And yeah, a lot of this episode was just the conflict between the girl who wrote the story and the scriptwriters and people who we've we've just learned who they are. We haven't learned much about them. But my favorite part of this episode, of course, uh, was Kana's entire rant about uh, Aqua and Akane being a couple and how she said, that they shouldn't be a couple because they were on a reality TV show together, and she's going on and on and on, and it she's got to be my favorite tsundere since Kagome, and yes, if she doesn't win the shipping wars, I'm going to be royally mad. Um, but yeah, this episode had some pretty funny interactions. I will admit its weaknesses, though. The weaknesses are, that we didn't spend enough time with the main characters, that things seem to be a little trifling. And what was the third thing? I was just about to say it. Uh, Man, my mind went blank. Um, Yeah, I got nothing. I knew there was a third thing I wanted to say, and I just totally forgot it. I'm sorry about that. I apologize. Yeah, it just um. Oh, now I remember. Yeah, we aren't moving any closer to the thing that we're all here for, of course, which is Aqua trying to find Ai's killer. That's what that's exactly what I wanted to say. We wanted to, like, I want to find out who Aqua or who Ai's killer is, and unfortunately, we didn't move any closer to that at all. So, some disappointments with this episode, but Kana, I love her so much that I really enjoyed at least that part of the episode.
Okay. Well, now we seen the script writer character, the one that the manga author got really angry at. Have we seen him before, or is he new this season?
I don't remember them, but it's possible.
Okay. Yeah, that was kind of interesting. Although I'm kind of wondering when the way he sort of gets kicked off. Is this it, or are we going to see more of him? Because it seemed like it seemed a little weird to be going with him like saying, "Oh man," and I worked really hard trying to understand everything. I did think it was a little interesting when they just talk about how the reason it didn't satisfy her was because it likened it to a game of telephone where she gives notes and the people who get the notes try to soften them, which go to someone else who changes, and it just goes into by the time it reaches the script writer, it's something different, almost. That was kind of cool. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was interesting. it is interesting they're talking all this stuff about, like, they keep calling it like a 2.5D production or something,
Yeah.
which I've seen them use that for like plays and things. It's interesting because I know there's like there's a bunch of like stage play stuff like of manga and things in Japan, but you never hear about it in the US because they just don't get released here. Like even not obviously, they don't have people come and perform it in the US because it would all be in Japanese, but they don't even like tend to like put them on, online subtitled, or at least not that I've seen.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
But yeah, I know that there are several manga that do that. I remember there was
Sailor Moon did that.
yeah. Well, actually, I was going to mention I remember that because they were going to be making one for this manga called Act Dodge, except then the manga got canceled because the writer basically sexually assaulted some girls and got arrested.
Oh man. Oh.
Yeah, that was something that happened. Anyway, what point was I trying to make? Okay. So yeah, that's the thing that happens. Unless your manga gets canceled and the stage play gets canceled. But yeah, I wonder how much many of those are that don't really we never hear about because they're never released here, unlike an anime or something.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't have, did I have anything else? Yeah, well, I'm interested to see the next episode. I'm wondering how things will continue with the actual stage play, which honestly I do find interesting, the production part of it and what will happen there.
Yeah.
Was there a stage play thing of Kaguya-sama? I feel like there was. Let me just double check on that. Well, a very quick look on Wikipedia doesn't tell me anything about it. So I was wondering if maybe there was in the author, like, had actually gone through this, but maybe they didn't. Because the author of Oshinoko also made Kaguya-sama, for people who don't know.
Uh-huh.
Okay. All right. Well, I guess we can move on to the Toonami Rewind stuff.
Right.
And we got Sailor Moon episodes 26 and 27.
Okay, so let's see. First episode is kind of about Tuxedo Mask discovering himself and figuring out who he is, while Molly, or Naru, as he called it here, is like kind of set up to be with Umino, and they kind of like set them up to be in a relationship with each other, but it's not very clear where that's going. So yeah, that's kind of all we get there. The second episode, I know, let's see, second episode. Do you remember what happened in this one?
Yeah, wasn't the second episode the one where there's the other guy who's really smart in the school and managed to get number one and beat Amy, but then it turns out that he's like one of like how did it go? There's like all the people who are, if I understand it correctly, the situation is that there's people there were monsters who got like reincarnated as people, except the people are different from the monsters, so the bad guys are trying to reawaken them, but then the heroes are all like, okay, we got to beat the monster and return them to normal, and then they're just back to normal people, I guess. So that happened last time episode with I think the priest guy, and then this guy it happens with this guy, and I guess, how many did they say there were these? Like 7? How many have we gone through? I think we've got 3, so I guess we're going to repeat this 4 more times.
Oh man.
Um,
Yeah, it was actually not that bad of an episode, I have to say, actually. Yeah, uh I thought that was kind of interesting, the whole dynamic between Ami and that boy, but then he kind of gets shipped away. That way we don't have to worry about anyone uh, ever becoming a love interest of Ami. So we made sure to get rid of him. So we'll never remember him again. He'll be like one of those characters from Pokemon where they're like, "We can't wait to see you someday. You know, when you're finished with your journey," and then they never get mentioned again. So, yeah, that's kind of what happens there.
yeah, although I think they actually did go back. They actually in the sort of not like the final season exactly. What did they call it? There's that one that was like the final season that actually starred Ash, and then like the season after that was like kind of reboot with a new character. In that final season, they actually did make a point of trying to wrap up a bunch of those things that they like set up before. Like remember, like in season 2, I think it was, where Ash's Pidgeotto evolves and he just kind of leaves and promises, "I'll come back for it." He actually met it again. Really, after like how many years? After like must have after like over 20 years it shows up again.
I didn't know Pokemon could live that long.
Well, I want to know exactly how time works in the Pokemon universe. I really remember, like season 1 or something. There's or was it season 2? I can't remember exactly. It was sometime around after the in the Indigo Plateau arc, where he goes back and it's like it's been 1 year since you left home, and except he's the same age as he was always, and then that's like that time is never mentioned again. I mean, if that was a year, it would have had to have been multiple years for the later things, unless maybe there's a bunch of stuff that the original series just skipped over, and the later ones we have is like maybe there's a bunch of filler episodes that the first season skipped over but are now including all the later ones.
Mhm.
Honestly, although I'm pretty sure if someone literally just counted the number of times night fell in the series, we would have had multiple years, and no one ever gets old during this series.
Mhm.
Right, back to Sailor Moon. Yeah, it really is just kind of, well, once again, we're just kind of doing the same thing. It's what the series does. Do the same thing and then do it again and again and again. You can't, the plot apparently is considered good enough. You got to do it again and again. Like, all like the sort of filler stuff, I know I've seen a bunch of people say they actually like that, the fact the anime did a lot more fleshing out of characters than the manga, which goes through things way faster, and thus the characters, even like the main characters, don't get as much focus or development. But I'm sure the anime does do that, but it also, there's so much of all these repetitive things. There has to be a nice happy medium between the two.
Mhm.
All right, so after that, we've got Naruto episode 29. So, they're still fighting up against that person. I'm not sure if we're supposed to know at this point is Orochimaru. Are we supposed to know that? Did they actually say he's Orochimaru? Well, he's Orochimaru. it's Orochimaru sort of in disguise. So, yeah. So they, sorry about that. Yeah. So basically, they're fighting up against Orochimaru, but Orochimaru does kind of realize, oh, hey, look, this Naruto has like the nine tails in him, and he does he does something to like the seal to, I think, make it weaken or something like that. There's also a bit where Naruto is convinced that Sasuke isn't actually Sasuke.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's kind of it. It's Orochimaru shows up, and of course he's really strong against them. He's presumably actually really holding back on this. It is kind of weird to think, oh, so this was Orochimaru's introduction, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I realized that was Orochimaru. I don't know if I was supposed to or if the subtitles gave it away or something. But yeah, I'm like, yeah, that's him. I just didn't think he was female, so I was a little confused about that. But yeah, so did the Leaf Village like hire him to do this for them for their big test?
No. They mention it's one of those things I don't know if they explicitly say it yet, but he basically infiltrated the exam by killing off like some of the participants and taking their place. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we get our formal introduction to him, it looks like next episode, where he says he's Orochimaru. So we don't know he's Orochimaru yet. But we get that next episode. So yeah. It was okay. It wasn't super interesting. I don't think.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
All right, so then we finally got Dragon Ball Z Kai episode 24, I think. All right, let's see if I can remember this episode. Okay, so Krillin and Dende, if I remember this correctly, and I'm not getting mixed up with another episode, they go off to well, it's a problem because I kind of watch these when they air on regular Toonami, but it's a few episodes ahead, so I'm like, which episode? So this one, let's see. Right. So Krillin and Dende decide to go off to the Grand Elder's home. Vegeta fights Zarbon, but then Zarbon makes himself way more powerful and although much less attractive, which is why he says that he doesn't like to use it, which makes him more powerful, and Vegeta's in more trouble now. We do find out that Goku's friends who died, they all made it to King Kai's palace to receive training from him, which for most of them ends, from what I remember, doesn't actually end up mattering. And finally, King Kai tells Goku, hey, stay away from Frieza.
Now, with these people, like, weren't they supposed to not be able to be brought back because they died twice?
One of them was Chaozu, the one who looks kind of the short one, the one who honestly looks kind of like a Pokemon. He looks kind of like.
Oh, you mean the one who blew himself up for nothing?
Yes, that one.
Okay.
So he died before and was brought back. So the Earth Dragon Balls can't bring him back. The other ones, guys, could, but Piccolo died, so Kami died, and Kami was the one who made the Dragon Balls because they were Piccolo and Kami used to be one per a guy, but split himself up. But so if one dies, the other dies. Then so the Earth Dragon Balls are back, but they went to Namek because they found out there's other Dragon Balls there, and they're planning to use those to wish them back. And we haven't got into it yet, but we find out that the rules for the Namekian Dragon Balls are different, and that they actually can bring back someone who's died before. I can't remember the exact differences. I know there's that. I think they can only bring back one person at a time, though, and the Earth Dragon Balls can bring back a bunch of people. So it's just kind of weird. You got these Dragon Balls, and they've got different rules on how they work.
Well, it's basically a mechanism to make sure that none of the deaths ever matter, because everyone and anyone can always be brought back. Even entire universes can be brought back if you got the right Dragon Balls.
Well,
so
bringing universes back does require the Super Dragon Balls, I think they're called, though.
Super Dragon Balls. I forgot about that. That makes a big difference. So, yeah.
So, yeah. But I think the Earth Dragon Balls can bring back individual planets, at least. Mm-hmm. Or was it the Namekian? I know one of them can do it because I know they bring back a planet at some point. At least I think they do? Or did they just... I can't remember exactly. It's a blur. But they... The big reason, yes, for the Dragon Balls is a way to just have characters come back to life. So that arcs are kind of like, a sports game where, someone can get, get thrown out of the match or something. And, obviously there's tension because, oh no, we lost our important player. But, come the next game, they can be back. Okay, and I think that's all of them then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. We got through everything.
Yep. All right, I guess we can give our rankings then.
Okay, mine, third place for some of the Mecha Action and stuff, I'll give that the Full Metal Panic. Second place, even though I was like a step ahead on everything that happened in this episode, gotta give it to Yu Yu Hakusho, which almost toppled the top one in this one, but I just couldn't get over how cute and awesome that rant from Kana was in Oshinoko. So Oshinoko wins this season, or this week. This season hasn't started out. I don't think it's possible to start out any better than the other one did, but it hasn't. How can I put it? Right now, there's no way it's getting a 10 out of 10 like the first season got for me. So, hopefully it gets better, but yeah.
For me, well, I think my reasoning for some of them might have been slightly been a little different, but I ironically end up with the same list, I think.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. There's more stuff I wanted to talk about, but like I said, I kind of realized it's so annoying. Why is it that when I was more sick last week, I didn't have any trouble talking? I mean, I did a bunch of like sniffing and stuff, which the listener probably didn't hear because I tried to cut it all out. But Here, I'm not having that problem. But if I just talk too much, I feel like I really have to cough and have to kind of stop. So that was one of the reasons why I was a little more quiet this week. So maybe I'll talk about like random anime and other manga I've been watching for next week.
Okay.
Hopefully I'll be feeling better by then.
Yeah, I haven't had time. I went to Nashville this past weekend. So
I saw that movie. Sorry, go on.
And yeah, so yeah, I wanted to. Oh, by the way, there was a movie I wanted to see, but I'm probably not going to get to see because it's like not anywhere nearby me in a theater. I have to go like all the way to the other side of Pittsburgh to get to it. But it was called like Bocce the Rock, and I was interested in seeing it because it was like a recap of like the first two seasons, and I'm like, okay, if I watch this, then I'll know everything that happens in a fraction of the time. But I can't find a theater to see it in, so that's not going to happen, unfortunately. Yeah.
Let me see. Is it around where I live? Yeah, there's some showings near me. Although it's so far ahead, maybe there will be more as we get closer, because it doesn't look like it's going to be playing here for like 2 weeks, and a lot of times they don't like have everything super decided, so it might be more, but looks like, well, at least looking at DeMarcus Theaters, because that's the one that's closest to me, so I'm looking at that, and I'm seeing one that's actually close to me. Only one of them in my city, though. Some other theater chains probably have it, though, where I live, but I don't know exactly. Okay. Yeah, it looks like it's subtitled only, although I don't think that series had a dub anyway, which is, well, a little surprising, although Crunchyroll usually, nowadays it seems like if they're ever going to do a dub, they only they announce it, before time. They don't really seem to go back and back dub stuff anymore, which is a little surprising for that, because the series was kind of like the unexpected hit that season. So,
what season was that?
Bocce the Rock. When was did it air? It was it aired in late 2022.
Okay.
Although it only has one season. It's weird that the recap, I'm seeing parts 1 and 2, and I'm like, you have 2 parts for a one season thing. In fact, it says 2 hours 45 minutes. So wait, how long is the series in total? Let me see. There are 12 episodes. They've all got about 23 minutes. So that's 276 minutes. And oh wow, there. So that's the total. So that's like 4.5 hours basically. And the movie, it says, is 2 hours 45 minutes. So it's like not even cutting it like the runtime in half.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of interesting. I kind of liked some of the show. It wasn't, I didn't get too into it, but yeah, that was a series that kind of came out of nowhere that a bunch of people liked, especially because especially for a series that didn't have any dub. That was kind of surprising. Okay. Like I said, I don't have much to say this week. Maybe I'll have more next week when my throat feels a little better. All right. So, we'll see you next week. I think this time we actually do have Uzumaki premiere, but it's going to be sub only and then followed by a dub, I think, the week after. So maybe we'll just, skip over the subbed one. We'll see.
Okay.
But yeah. Oh, and for next week, we're switching things up slightly. We're going to have 2 episodes of Full Metal Panic instead of and have just one of Spice and Wolf Merchant meets the Wise Wolf. That might not be a permanent thing. Well, it couldn't be that long of a permanent thing. We're getting kind of close to the end of both. But in any case, that's what we're doing for next week for people who, I don't know if anyone actually watches along with us on everything, but I thought I should mention it. And with that, we'll see you next time.
Bye.
We won't be intimidated by criminal threats.
Every Saturday night at midnight, Adult Swim is building you a better cartoon show.
I'm waiting.
We call it Toonami.
Now you'll want to watch carefully. You're witnessing history.
We have a problem. There are enemies on their way.
You look like you're having fun. You guys wouldn't mind if I joined, would ya? Everyone run! Are you trying to get us both killed?
Not one villain gets away! You can't kill me! I'm unstoppable!
Talk loud, get plowed. Demons! Enemy attack!
We have the upper hand.
Brace yourself.
I'm about to light things up!
Toonami, every Saturday starting at midnight.
Don't say you weren't warned.
On Adult Swim.
You've been very patient, and it's almost time. I am going to enjoy this. I'll crush you. You can try all you want.
Let's finish this!
Frieza, Super Saiyans, Trunks, and more.
Come on! Alright, this is it! I'm not going to let Kakarot show me up!
The wait is over.
I'm just getting started! Here goes!
Dragon Ball Z.
Nothing else matters.
At last, some quality entertainment.
Wait for it. Oh.